Okay, Fanita, we talked during our conversation about a lot of stuff, and we mentioned at a certain point your development on the OK positions.
Yes.
When we
Yes.
Just to summarize it, there are four well-known OK positions, meaning concerning yourself and how to deal with the environment, meaning the OK.
Yeah.
I'm not okay, you are okay.
Yes.
I'm okay, you are
Yes.
not, and I'm not okay, and the environment or the other system or the mother or whoever else is not okay as well. So dynamics are described around that. We talked about during the types.
Yeah.
We talked about during racketeering and substitute feelings
Yes.
and so on. But you went a little bit further
Yes.
and create something just like the fifth position. And I think it is a very essential concept, and therefore I would like that we spend a little bit time on that.
Yes,
Yeah.
okay. Essentially summarizing
Yeah.
things I have said before. The whole idea about the four positions comes from Byrne, and he even joked about it. He said, we start out okay, first position, and then parents or the environment turn us from princes to frogs, and the idea is to get back to being princes or princesses instead of frogs. I didn't quite like this kind of picture because the baby is okay but not with full capacity. So the way I develop the positions are 5 positions instead of 4. The first one being the euphoric, the happy baby's infant's position, which is the I'm okay, you're okay, euphoric. Then I think about this developmentally rather than just thinking of positions as a flat way of being. I was impressed by the developmental ideas of Melanie Klein, Spitz, and so on, so that it seems to me that when the baby at about 6 to 9 months starts realizing that the environment is not, becomes aware of the environment, becomes aware of the limits of his wishes, that he wishes for the toy, he or she wishes for the toy to come up, be back in his hand, and it's not.
And becoming more and more conscious and self-conscious.
So there is a phase of development which I do call the not okay phase. Melanie Klein refers to the depressive phase, Spitz to the anxiety phase. I call it the not okay phase. And then as the baby's faculties develop and improve, the baby develops what I call a defensive position, either a position which would call itself I'm not okay, you're okay. That's the baby who feels very helpless and depends on the environment to do his or her thinking or feeling for him or her, versus the other position, which is I'm okay, you're not okay, the baby who has experienced very neglectful mothering or fathering, perhaps alcoholic parents or drug addicted parents or whatever.
Or some only not so stable ones.
Yeah. And develops the I'm okay, you're not okay. In other words, if I don't take care of myself, nobody will. So these are the basic early developmental defensive positions, out of which we may develop a character type. And from there I moved on to the concept of the character type, type 1 and type 2, something you and I have worked with a lot. The character type, type 1 is based on being more helpless, is more likely to become a victim if exaggerated. Whereas the character type 2 is more likely to become the controlling or rescuing type of person. This then expands into the preferred attitudes a person takes much of the time. Going back to the idea of positions, our goal in developing, in becoming autonomous, whether we achieve it on our own or whether we achieve it through therapy or help or experience, the goal is to reach what I call the fifth position, which is I'm okay, you're okay, adult. The ability to use the adult ego state, regardless of the character type one operates with. So you have perhaps seen my article entitled I'm Okay, You're Okay, Adult. It was published in a magazine called Voices, and then it was also published in the TA Journal.
And we've attached this kind of material.
And we've attached it. And then the person's actual character type, type 1 or type 2, doesn't matter so much. The I'm okay, you're okay, adult fifth position is the position of autonomy. I may have my preferences, and so Joachim, you and I, we developed a whole book on that subject.
Yeah.
We used, now I'm expanding, do you want me to expand a little bit? I might as well.
I try to control you a bit, but expand.
All right, interrupt me if you have to.
Yeah.
At any rate, we, in our book, which was published in German and perhaps it'll be translated into English someday, at any rate, in our book, we used Hamlet and Othello as prototypes for type 1 and type 2 character types. The Othello type being the type 1 kind of person who sees himself as rather helpless in comparison to the environment. And you have Hamlet in Act 1 talking about himself being helpless, incapable of fulfilling his father's demands, wanting to suicide but incapable of suicide and so on. But then he moves on in the last act to being a completely different person. I'll get back to that. Similarly, Othello, or by contrast, Othello is a type 2 kind of person. He starts out as claiming to be super competent.
And self-containing and everything, yeah.
And then when he discovers that his assumption that Desdemona is not totally devoted to him, he sinks, falls away in the last act. So now we've touched something else which perhaps I should develop in a different context.
Yeah.
But going back to the positions idea, neither Hamlet nor Othello achieve the fifth position. Yeah. And that's the element of the tragedy. What they do is they switch, because their position doesn't support them, their defensive position does not support them, they switch into the opposite position, which is a very dangerous kind of a switch. And that's a different topic now. That's talking about mythology when we get there.
And I think for the play, this play on theater, it was necessary for Shakespeare to show how it could be, and for us it's a negative example.
Exactly.
But in real life, I think there is an outcome that could be much more livable. But that means to have to admit that maybe I'm following one or the other defensive position, or one or the other attitude, and or preference.
Yeah.
And to get to autonomy means to accept maybe I have a preference in such and such way. Sometimes it helps, sometimes not, and to accept myself more realistically, and in the same way accept others realistically, meaning I'm not always happy with myself, I'm not always happy with the other, but I can say, okay, he's a human, she's a human, I'm a human, I make some mistakes, you make some mistakes, and a lot of things we are doing very well, and so let's try to figure out what we can together and what not. And that for me is more a description about the fifth position as we propose it, in particular to managers or people who are involved in business. Yeah. So not to follow as a kind of
tragic path,
or subconscious preference.
Yes.
To get back to the conscious, like, okay, that maybe would be my reaction, but I can do it differently, and I can better accept the other one in his or her reaction, and let's go forward to be more balanced. And that, I think, is the achievement, to get out of it or get over it or get beyond the types and get beyond the preference.
That's right.
Yeah.
The difference between the examples which you used in the book, in business, the idea of therapy or consultation or counseling would be helping a person not move on to the tragic ending.
Yeah.
So Hamlet shows a move to the tragic ending, where then he switches from the helpless position by having been too long and too hard in a helpless position, and then has to switch into an omnipotent murderous position. Othello, having been too long and too hard in this type 2 omnipotent position, then switches to a totally helpless, trembling child. And so what you show in your examples in the book we referred to is the person who avoids maintaining, desperately maintaining the defensive position, the victim person desperately maintaining the helplessness position and learning that he and she can accomplish more than he believes he can, but not omnipotently. And the super bossy boss learning that he can afford to delegate and trust some people to do some of the jobs.
And maybe he has to learn that he can control everything.
That's right.
And that's not kind of aggression or something or negative fate to him, but it could be more interesting. But what you mentioned beside could be different. Could be show the difference between therapy and our consultation. As therapists, you have to stop it. A certain movement or certain aspects within a person, not to come to a tragic ending. And what we would like to develop is to use the same patterns and the same ideas to build up the capability for your personal life and your business life, just to be more capable and have to enjoy it a bit more, and not to protect someone against a kind of tragic ending, because tragic ending is not so common, not so often in our business. If it occurs, then we have to send him or her to the therapist. But we are looking more, where's the future stuff, and where can we go forward, where can we work more to make, sometimes even to fulfill the positive part of the script, and
to fulfill a positive script. That's right. To become aware of one's positive script.
And get a bit beyond that. For a point of some unconscious acting.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think that's one of the important parts of your ideas, and really to open it more from from only protecting someone to get a little bit more to an open future, and therefore I think it's accepted that we are, as adults, acting differently and thinking differently and feeling differently than children, and therefore I think the difference between the first and the fifth is huge, and it's worth to go for, and it's not the point to go back in a kind of euphoric first position. For me, it's more regression than development.